Human Resources Kevin gives us mandatory IQ tests. I work for an okay company, but sometimes our HR guy gets ideas. The most recent idea was to test everyone's intelligence. This was supposedly just for our records, except in the case of new candidates. But we all had doubts and felt like somebody was going to get laid off if they did poorly on the tests. The thing is, we work closely together here, so we came up with an easy plan to make sure we'd all keep our jobs. I work for a small company, and we have a one-man HR department. We often get all sorts of memos detailing policies that sound good on paper, but never make practical sense. I think maybe HR got all its education on YouTube or Reddit, or learned it while being mentored after hours by the CEO. Recently, HR implemented a new standardized testing for screening new candidates, which scores candidates on their skills in mathematics, language, logic, and a bunch of industry-specific questions. The idea is to weed out those who present well on paper and in person, but can't in fact do the most basic stuff. While this could be an excellent idea to weed out the morons that keep walking through the door, HR thought it's an excellent idea to make everyone, including those who have already been here for years, do it as well. For the employee files, of course. HR gave a metric for where scores should range for new candidates. They then sent us links to complete the tests and requested that they be completed by Friday. As we all know, HR never does things just for employee files. We suspect HR is trying to get rid of a few crucial people who are not great with computers and not fast on the calculator, but are in fact the beating souls powering the workplace. Pretty much everyone at the office all boycotted the test. When HR pressured the CEO to threaten our bonuses, we begrudgingly complied. HR wants to score us based on arbitrary standardized tests as a benchmark? Sure. We spent the next 3 days after hours working on the tests together, one test at a time. At the end, we all scored 9 out of 10 in every category because we got some pretty bright people helping out. And guess what? We forced HR to do the same test, and HR scored 5 out of 10 for math and 4 out of 10 for logic. Guess who should be on the chopping block? The weird thing about this story is that the original poster tacitly admits that most of them would not have done well on the tests. Otherwise, they wouldn't need to cheat. If they all know this, it's weird to criticize the HR guy for taking the test honestly. It's also not clear from the story as written that any of this was originally HR's idea. In pretty much any company with multiple departments, it can be hard to tell sometimes where the first cog started spinning. I'm not saying this policy was right. If the company wants to get rid of people who aren't great with the technical aspects of their jobs, they can just do that. They don't need a standardized test as an excuse, and it's unclear what the motive would be here. Most malicious compliance stories begin with a change in management. Someone new comes in and decides to overhaul a system that's been working for years. In this story, they come up with an elaborate scheme that may or may not be an excuse for layoffs, presumably out of sheer boredom. The only way this makes sense is if the team had been underperforming, which they may have been if they all felt like they couldn't get through this test without cheating. I'm really on the fence about whether what they did here was right, especially since it wouldn't be hard to figure out how they cheated, since everyone made the same score on the test. That could actually make things worse for them than they were before. What do you think? Would you have handled things this way, or was there a better solution? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I dripped earwax all over the house just to make a point. I have a condition called impacted earwax, caused by swimmer's ear. For some reason, it's been coming back my whole life, and so it really sucks for me to have ears sometimes. Essentially, I have way too much earwax. I need to clean out my ears daily just so they aren't in pain. Unfortunately, they're still uncomfortable. Well, my older brother Sebastian has a fiancée, Tina, and they live in a room in our house that my mom rents to them. The other day, I guess Tina realized just how much I clean out my ears. She said, "You really shouldn't have to clean them out that much. I feel like you're probably over-exaggerating a little just for attention." I told her I wasn't, and she said, "Okay, well, I guess that your poor little ears are reason enough to waste money on Q-tips so often." I know it was petty, but I said, "Okay, I'm going to go for 2 weeks without cleaning my ears, and every day you have to take a picture of the inside of each and see what happens." And so her pact with the devil was made. We didn't make it past 5 days before she said, "Okay, you made your point, you jerk." My ears were leaking onto my shirt by that point, and the inside of my ears were on fire because the eardrops I'm supposed to use were just sitting in a puddle of wax in my ears, not doing their job. I thought it was funny, even if a little painful, but my brother and Tina thought it was petty and gross, and now they just call me the waxy, grubby creep. My mom said I did nothing wrong, aside from just being generally obnoxious, but Sebastian and Tina made it into a whole thing and took it way too seriously. Am I the jerk? The mom's response is my favorite part of this story. Besides being obnoxious, however, this is kind of disgusting. If it's dripping onto your shirt, how are you keeping it from dripping elsewhere in the house? I also never understand the petty revenge stories where a person has to severely put themselves out to get their revenge. In this case, OP actually put himself through literal pain. It seems easier to just stop arguing with Tina and walk away. Of course, these aren't the bigger issues that some commenters are pointing out. Those who have experience with impacted earwax say it makes no sense that OP was using Q-tips in the first place. Apparently, they're considered one of the worst ways to handle this condition, and they can actually make it worse. There are usually other cleaning methods recommended for those with impacted earwax. Some also question whether earwax can actually drip this way, since impacted tends to imply that it's stuck in the ear like glue. This isn't something I know a lot about, and I'm not about to research it, knowing that I probably won't be able to avoid pictures, so you'll just have to debate in the comments whether you find this story believable. If you made it this far in the video, consider liking and subscribing for more videos coming. I called a 2-year-old a criminal, and I don't feel bad about it. So, I was covering for a kindergarten class. I usually teach older kids. Nearby and hosted by the same school is a parent and taught class where parents can come and play with their babies while they wait for their kids to finish class. There are some basic rules for their admittance to the parent and taught class. First, your baby must always be within arm's reach. Second, your baby cannot leave the class or interrupt another. And third, no physical touch of other kids or students. Since I'm subbing, I don't actually know which kids belong to which parents. Older kids also don't have to be enrolled for parents to join these classes. It's also not uncommon to have babies run to older siblings when they see them. I'd started to do an obstacle course with my kids in the gym to burn off some of their energy, and so they could have fun. The baby class was at the other side of the gym. One of the babies, a 2-year-old boy, runs over and hugs this 4-year-old girl in my class. I think nothing of it and ignore it, assuming they're siblings. The first time he came for a hug, she did hug him back, which I think is why I assumed they were siblings. After that, she started saying no. The mom comes over and brings the little boy back. But then he runs over and hugs her again, and again. And when I say hug, I mean like a chokehold. She can't get out, and he won't let go until the mom pries them apart. Still, I leave it for the mom to deal with. But I do notice the girl getting annoyed and continuously struggling against the boy and telling him to get off her. She was saying no and stop hugging me, and she was clearly in a lot of discomfort over this. So I started moving closer to pay more attention. That's when I hear the mom say something about running off with strangers. I ask the girl if that's her mom, and she says no. She's incredibly uncomfortable with him touching her, and I tell her that if they come over again and I'm not looking, then come find me and I'll deal with it. The boy comes over again. I see it, but before the mom even bothers to walk over, the girl pushed the boy down. He falls and starts crying. Then the mom decides it's worth her time to come over. I leave it because, 1, the girl said no multiple times and nothing's been done. Clearly words aren't working. 2, the mom clearly has no intention of stopping it. 3, get out of my class. You're not supposed to be over here. Maybe I'm teaching a baby self-defense class. You don't know, so keep your kid out. So the mom comes over and starts yelling and berating the little girl for pushing her son. Well, I'm having none of that. I stepped in and told her to stop yelling at the little girl because she was just defending herself after words hadn't worked. I don't remember word for word what we said, but it was along the lines of the mother saying, "She pushed my baby and needs to be punished." I said, "He kept grabbing her. She asked him to stop. He didn't." "He's 2, the mom said. "He doesn't understand what she's saying." "Then you need to teach him what no and stop means," I said, "or you can keep him in his class where he's supposed to be." "He's just a baby," she said, "and he likes to hug." Well, that's what you're here for, I said. He has no right to come into my class and grab any of my kids. She said no, she clearly didn't like it, and she has a right to not be hugged. Your son didn't listen, you did nothing to try to teach him, and she pushed him. She tried to use her words, the adults didn't stop it, what else was she supposed to do? It doesn't matter if she didn't want him to hug her, the mom said. She shouldn't have hit him. And he shouldn't have touched her, I said. But if you refuse to teach him about consent, you're going to have to accept that your little future rapist is going to get hit. She was kind of shocked by this, so I doubled down, saying, it doesn't matter if he's 2. If you don't teach him how to respect people's boundaries and understand what no means, when he gets older, he's either going to get hurt or you'll be standing at trial saying, I don't know how this happened, and I'll be right there to say you didn't teach him. I was not angry in this conversation. I was just trying to calmly explain that I wouldn't be punishing a 4-year-old girl for using force when we, the adults, stood by and didn't help her. She had no place to yell at a 4-year-old for our inaction. She went back to her class and decided to actually keep her child with her. Her child behaved like an angel when she paid attention to him. I don't think she was pleased, but I frankly don't care. You can't wait until your son is 15 or 16 to start expecting him to respect other people and their boundaries. And he was hurting a little girl. She was clearly feeling extremely unsafe, and the mom blamed her. Little girls shouldn't have to put up with this because a boy is too young to understand. Teach him then, so the mom can suck it if she didn't like it. I'm absolutely amazed at how this OP can be this self-righteous while admitting that she at no point thought to step up and do her job. Even her reasoning for not doing her job is insane. The mother shouldn't be on your side of the room, and that's your reason for not saying anything? Shouldn't it be your reason for telling the mother that she shouldn't be on your side of the room? This OP also says multiple times that the girl was clearly uncomfortable, yet she never gives a good reason for not getting involved on that basis alone. If the girl was being hurt, then it wouldn't matter if the boy was a sibling. That is not a good excuse for a teacher allowing a student to be hurt. And then the things she said in front of these very small children were way out of line. She says that you shouldn't wait until your kid is 16 to teach them about consent. There's a wide gap between 2 and 16. Plus, she says that force is justified because words aren't working. Did it not occur to her that the words of an authority figure might hit differently? And who makes these kinds of predictions about a toddler? If I see a child steal a cookie from the cookie jar, I don't assume I'm watching a prequel to Ocean's 11. In one of her later edits, she claims that her actions were justified because she told the little girl's parents what she said to the boy, and the dad fist bumped her. What kind of parent fist bumps a teacher for speaking about a child this way? As for the comments, they're split between people saying the mother should be sterilized or that the teacher should be fired. The people saying the mom should be sterilized are sticking to the fact that she didn't teach her 2-year-old to maturely understand human behavior. If only there had been an adult around who was paid to teach children. But the OP automatically wins every argument because she claims in an edit too long to include here that anyone who doesn't agree with her probably doesn't believe in consent. So that's a rational argument. What do you think? Is this an appropriate way to talk about a child? Should this woman have a job? Do you believe that 2 separate adults would both refer to a 2-year-old as a baby in the first place? Let us know your thoughts down below. My stepmother told me to clean my room, so I had her evicted. I'm a 17-year-old boy. My mom passed away when I was 5. My dad remarried when I was 8. He and his wife have 2 children, my half-brothers. I don't like Dad's new family. He didn't ask me when he married, so I'm distant. My dad's wife is not an evil person, but she is annoying as heck. Always saying do this and do that, but she does it in a very annoying way by leaving little notes everywhere. If I didn't do the dishes, there's a note. If I didn't take out the trash, there's a note. She even leaves notes of encouragement, saying things like, "You'll be good in school," or "I believe in you." I hate it. I talked with my dad hoping to put it to a stop, but he says that's how she shows her love. Like, whatever. So I made a plan. The house we live in is from my mother and belongs to me. I make all decisions when I turn 18 in December. My friend likes the law, so he wrote official eviction papers. A couple of days ago, she left another note on my bed to clean my room. Annoyed, I went to their bedroom and left an eviction note on her pillow. When I came to dinner, she asked me if I read my note. I said yes and asked if she read the one on her pillow. She was confused and went to read it. She started screaming and crying and was very upset, asking why I'm kicking them out. My dad was confused, and when he saw the note, he was very upset. My half-brother started crying. I told them I will sell the house when I turn 18. They were shocked. I didn't allow them to say anything. I just went to my grandparents. I now get constant messages from my dad and his wife that they have nowhere to go, can't afford an apartment, blah blah. I don't like my dad's family, and I think I'm in the right. My maternal grandparents told me I must think of the kids, and I'm a jerk. Am I the jerk? This story isn't scary because I think it happened. It's scary that someone can reach the age of 17 and still think this is even capable of happening. The fact that your friend likes the law does not make them capable of writing out legitimately enforceable eviction papers. This really feels like someone was told to clean their room and decided to dedicate more time than that chore would have taken to writing out an absurd revenge fantasy. I also love how the stepmother is worthy of scorn because she has the gall to tell her stepson she believes in him. Some commenters took this as passive aggression. I'll accept passive since it's a note, but which part of I believe in you is meant to be read aggressively? I also love this one Reddit trope where people dramatically scream and start crying the second an OP says something they don't like. I don't want to out myself as a secret soap opera fan, but just trust me when I say that even As the World Turns wouldn't include a scene that ridiculous. And it's bizarre how often these revenge fantasies include small children who get put on the street despite having done nothing wrong. The revenge fantasy is one thing, but why do you think so many Redditors like the idea of punishing innocent children for no reason? Feel free to leave your own theories on this down below. Our forces combined, we will unravel this mystery. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.